The storm had knocked out half the town's power by midnight. Rain hammered the tin roofs, and wind howled through the broken fences of Cedar Hollow. Officer Ryan Hale pulled his jacket tighter as his K-9, Thor, led him toward the farmhouse at the end of Ridge Lane. The one everyone thought was empty. The air smelled of rust and wet soil. Inside, the floors creaked like old bones. Thor stopped at the basement door, muscles tense, growl low. Then he stared, unblinking, at a sealed white friesen corner. Something inside shifted. The beam from Ryan Hale's flashlight trembled as he eased the basement door open. The hinges moaned like something waking from a long sleep. His K-9, Thor, descended first, slow, alert, muscles rippling beneath his rain-soaked fur. The basement smelled of mold, gasoline, and something faintly metallic. Ryan's boots sank into the damp earth floor, and every instinct screamed to back away. "Cedar Hollow PD," he called out. His voice came back to him, warped and hollow. No answer, only the rain. He swept the light around, shelves lined with canning jars, all clouded from age. A rusted shovel leaned against the wall. The generator hummed weakly in the corner, wires running up through the ceiling into the house. Then the beam found again the white chest freezer. Frost laced the lid like veins, and thick duct tape sealed it shut. Thor whimpered. Ryan crouched beside the dog, one hand on his collar. "You smell something?" he whispered. Thor's nose brushed the freezer's edge. Then he growled, deep, guttural, protective. Ryan exhaled. His breath hung in the cold air. The power flickered. He stood up and traced the lid with his glove. There were dents on the metal, small ones, irregular, as if someone had pounded from the inside. He froze. "Dispatch!" he murmured into his shoulder mic. "This is Officer Hale. I'm at the residence on Ridge Lane. Looks like someone's been down here recently. Possible." The line crackled, then died. Static. No signal. He looked toward the stairs. The wooden door had swung shut on its own. The house was old, warped from years of neglect, but still, that sound hadn't been the wind. Ryan's pulse ticked faster. He set the flashlight on a workbench and tugged at the tape on the freezer. It resisted, layers thick, clinging like skin. Whoever sealed it hadn't wanted it opened. He hesitated. His reflection wavered in the metal lid, the lines on his face deeper than he remembered. It had been 4 months since Lena died. 4 months since the call came from the side of the highway. An accident, they said. He hadn't slept properly since. Nights bled into patrols, days into static. His therapist said grief would find strange ways to surface. Maybe this was one of them. Another lonely basement, another echo of something lost. But Thor's growl snapped him back. Ryan gripped the freezer handle, counted to 3, and pulled. The lid groaned, frost cracking, seal giving way. Cold mist poured out like smoke. Inside, beneath a thin sheet of plastic, was something wrapped in a tarp, blue, water-stained. He peeled back the corner. A human hand. Pale, stiff. He staggered back, nearly tripping over the workbench. The dog barked once, sharp and urgent. Jesus Christ. He stared, flashlight trembling in his grip. The fingernails were painted red. A small tattoo, a crescent moon, curved around the wrist. His stomach turned. He'd seen that tattoo before. Lena had the same one. But that was impossible. He'd buried her. He'd stood by her grave. Ryan's throat closed. He knelt again, shaking, pulling the plastic farther down. The face beneath was half frozen, eyes shut, lips blue. It looked like her, but different. Slightly younger. Smaller nose. Same jawline, though. Not Lena, but close enough to make his body forget the difference. He stumbled away, chest heaving, mind racing through possibilities. Twin? Sister? Clone? What the hell was he looking at? A noise came from above, a soft creak of footsteps across the floorboards. Someone else was in the house. Ryan's instincts flared. He drew his weapon, flashlight cutting across the basement ceiling. "Who's there?" he shouted. "Show yourself." No response. Then a thud. The front door. Whoever it was, they were leaving. Ryan bolted up the stairs, Thor at his heels. The living room was empty, curtains fluttering in the broken windows. The storm outside had softened into a steady drizzle. The front door stood ajar, footprints in the mud, leading toward the tree line. He followed, radio crackling again as it picked up weak reception. "Dispatch! This is Hale. I've got a possible homicide at Ridge Lane. Suspect fleeing on foot heading northbound. Send backup now." Static, then a faint voice. "Copy that, Hale. Units en route." He clicked the mic off and pressed forward, boots sinking into the soaked earth. His light darted through the trees, glimpses of movement, a dark coat, a flash of pale skin. The forest swallowed everything. Thor barked, pulling him to the left. They broke into a clearing where a pickup truck sat half buried in mud, headlights still on. The driver's door swung open. Ryan aimed his gun. Police, hands where I can see them. But there was no one inside. The engine was running. The air smelled faintly of bleach. Then something caught his eye, a Polaroid photo on the dashboard, half soaked from the rain. He picked it up carefully. It showed Lena, alive, standing in front of this very truck. A date scrawled on the bottom corner. 2 weeks ago. Ryan's breath stuttered. His mind reeled. He looked around, flashlight shaking. The trees seemed to close in. He forced himself to think. It didn't make sense, none of it. Lena's car had crashed 30 miles from here. The coroner confirmed the body. He'd identified her himself. But what if... A branch snapped behind him. He turned. Nothing. Thor growled low. Then another sound, a faint ringing, coming from the glove compartment. Ryan opened it. Inside was a phone, still buzzing. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "This is Officer Hale." A pause. Then a whisper. "You shouldn't have opened it." Ryan's stomach dropped. "Who is this?" The call cut out. He stood in the rain, breath clouding, the Polaroid clenched in his hand. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled across the valley. By the time the backup arrived, the truck was gone. Only tire ruts remained. "Place looks deserted," said Deputy Cole, sweeping his flashlight across the clearing. "You sure someone was here?" Ryan didn't answer. He just stared at the ground, at the deep footprints vanishing into the mud. Cole crouched beside him. "You okay, man? You look like you've seen a ghost." Ryan forced a tight nod. "Yeah, just something's off about this." "Off how?" He looked at the Polaroid again, rain smearing the ink. "That's my wife," he said quietly. Cole frowned. "Your wife?" "The one." "Yeah." They stood in silence, thunder rumbling closer. Cole glanced at him. "You sure it's her?" Ryan hesitated. "I don't know any more." Back at the station, the rain had turned to sleet. Ryan sat in the evidence room, staring at the freezer photos, the body, the tattoo, the blue tarp. Forensics had taken the remains to the morgue, but the report wasn't ready yet. He felt hollow. Captain Reyes entered, shaking her umbrella. "You look like hell, Hale." "Thanks, Cap." She dropped the folder on the table. "I went through the Ridge Lane property files. That farmhouse belonged to a man named Elias Vennet. He used to run a hunting supply store before he went off the grid 5 years ago. You ever heard of him?" Ryan shook his head. "Well," she continued, "here's the part that'll mess with your head. The property taxes were paid up till last year by someone named Lena Vennet." He blinked. "What?" "Same first name as your wife. Different last. But here's the weird thing. Her ID photo in the system? She looks exactly like her." Ryan's pulse thudded. "You're telling me." "I'm telling you I don't know what the hell's going on, but whatever you found in that freezer, it's connected to your past." He swallowed. "I want to see the body." Reyes nodded. "Morgue's closed for the night. You can go first thing in the morning." He nodded but didn't move. His gaze drifted to the evidence photo again, that pale face, so familiar it hurt. Reyes paused at the door. "Ryan, whatever this is, don't let it drag you under." But he already felt the pull. At 3 a.m., Ryan sat in his car outside his house, rain pounding the windshield. The Polaroid lay on the passenger seat beside Thor, who had finally fallen asleep. He couldn't bring himself to go inside. The house felt too empty now. The phone in his coat pocket buzzed again. Same unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Officer Hale," he said, voice hoarse. A whisper, faint but clear. "She's not who you think she is." He sat up straight. "Who are you?" Silence. Then, checked the basement again. The line went dead. Ryan's heart hammered as he started the engine. The wipers smeared the glass. Thunder crashing overhead. Thor lifted his head. Ears pricked. They turned back toward Ridge Lane. As the car climbed the hill, the farmhouse lights flickered on, one by one. And this time, the front door was already open. By the time Ryan reached the farmhouse again, the storm had calmed into a soft, steady drizzle that hissed against the gravel. The lights inside flickered like candles, too dim and uneven to be from the power grid. Thor jumped out first, his fur glistening wet, head low, tail stiff. The front door swayed on its hinges, opened just enough to whisper. Ryan raised his flashlight, gun drawn. "Police!" His voice echoed down the hallway. Nothing answered, only the faint hum of that generator downstairs. He stepped in carefully. The smell hit first, metallic, sour, laced with rot, like old blood thawing. The wooden floorboards groaned under his boots as he moved toward the basement door. His flashlight skimmed over the walls. Family photos, all water-damaged, faces blurred. But one caught his eye, a wedding photo. The woman in the picture looked exactly like Lena. Same smile, same eyes. But the man beside her wasn't Ryan. He squinted at the name printed beneath the frame. Elias and Lena Vennet, 2013. He felt something twist deep inside. The same year, he met his Lena. The light flickered again. Thor growled. Ryan opened the basement door. The smell intensified. Cold air rose to meet him, and with it, the faint sound of dripping water. He descended slowly, each step creaking like it might splinter. The freezer was still there, lid open, frost melting around the edges. But now it was empty. The tarp, the body, gone. Ryan froze. His throat closed. Jesus Christ. He crouched, flashlight scanning the floor. The wet earth bore drag marks. Something heavy had been pulled toward the far wall, where a false panel stood ajar. A hidden door. Thor whined softly, uneasy. Ryan braced himself and pulled the panel open. Behind it was a narrow tunnel, lined with bricks that looked decades old. A faint light flickered at the far end. He swallowed hard, hand tightening on his gun. "Stay close," he whispered to Thor. They moved through the tunnel. The air colder with each step. The walls dripped with condensation. The light ahead pulsed like a heartbeat. When they reached the end, the passage opened into a small underground chamber, crude makeshift, smelling of bleach and ammonia. Tables, metal tools, jars filled with preserved organs. Ryan's stomach lurched. A voice came from the corner. "You shouldn't have come back." He spun, gun raised. A man stepped from the shadows, tall, gaunt, eyes sunken. His clothes hung off him like loose skin. A scar ran from his ear down to his neck. "Elias Vennet," Ryan said quietly. The man nodded once, calm as still water. "You're trespassing, officer." "I found your wife," Ryan said, "in that freezer." Elias's eyes flickered, a strange mix of sorrow and fury. "That wasn't my wife." Ryan frowned. Then who the hell was she? Elias looked past him, as if seeing something that wasn't there. A mistake. Ryan's pulse thudded. "What do you mean, a mistake?" Elias walked slowly toward one of the tables, running his fingers along a row of photographs pinned to the wall. Each one showed a woman. Same face, slight variations. Different hair, different scars, but unmistakably the same woman. All of them Lena. Ryan's grip tightened on his weapon. "What the hell is this?" Elias didn't look at him. "You think you knew her, but you didn't. None of us did." Ryan took a cautious step closer. "You're going to start explaining before I lose my patience." Elias turned then, his voice soft, almost mournful. "She was never one person. They made her, perfected her, rebuilt her until she looked right, moved right, loved right." He tapped his temple. "But she never remembered the others." Ryan blinked. "You're insane." "Am I?" Elias gestured to the photos. You tell me, your wife, how long did you know her before she appeared in your life? A year? 2. Ryan swallowed. 3. And before that? Elias asked, stepping closer. Where was she born? Who were her parents? Ever seen proof? Ryan's mouth opened, then closed. He tried to recall details Lena had told him, but they came as fragments. A childhood somewhere up north, a mother who passed early, a father who worked construction. But no photos, no family visits, nothing verifiable. You're lying, Ryan said, though his voice lacked conviction. Elias studied him quietly. You came because something in you already knew. Ryan shook his head. I came because you killed someone and stuffed them in a freezer. Elias exhaled through his nose, almost a laugh. That wasn't murder. That was mercy. Thor barked sharply, breaking the tension. Ryan stepped forward, hands where I can see them. Elias didn't move. Instead, he glanced toward the tunnel entrance. You're not alone down here. Ryan turned his flashlight and froze. A woman stood there, half hidden by shadow, soaked hair clinging to her face, bare feet on the cold dirt. Her voice trembled. Ryan! He nearly dropped the light. Lena? She took a step forward. Her face was bruised, pale but unmistakably hers. You came. His chest tightened. What? How? Elias raised a hand. Careful. You don't know which one she is. Lena's eyes filled with tears. Don't listen to him. He's lying. He took me, Ryan. He kept me here. Ryan aimed his gun back at Elias. You kidnapped her? I saved her, Elias said, eyes burning. From them. From what they made her into. You think this was love? It was programming. Lena shook her head violently. He's sick. He killed women who looked like me. I heard them scream. Shut up. Elias roared, the mask cracking for the first time. Ryan stepped between them. Nobody's moving. Thor barked again, the sound sharp, urgent, warning. Then the generator upstairs sputtered and died. Darkness swallowed the chamber. Ryan's flashlight flickered, cutting through the dark in quick, trembling bursts. Footsteps scrambling. A crash of metal. A shout. Then a gunshot. Ryan ducked instinctively, ears ringing. The flashlight spun, beam rolling across the dirt. He saw Elias clutching his side, blood spreading through his shirt. Lena stood behind him, trembling, gun in hand. Ryan's heart pounded. Lena put it down. She dropped it, sobbing. He was going to kill us. Ryan kicked the gun aside, then checked Elias. Still breathing, barely. Elias gripped Ryan's wrist, eyes wide, desperate. Don't trust her. Then his body went limp. Ryan exhaled, shaking. His flashlight beam caught Lena's face again. Tears streaking her cheeks, eyes wide with terror. It's me, she whispered. You have to believe me. He stared at her. The same face, the same voice, the same scent of rain and lavender shampoo she used every night. But something was off. Something in her eyes. Colder. He stood slowly, gun still in hand. When we first met, he said softly, where did we go on our first date? She blinked. What? Answer me. Her lip trembled. The diner on 5th Street. His chest tightened. What did you order? Silence. She looked down. Ryan, please. What did you order? Her voice broke. I don't remember. Ryan's grip on the gun tightened. The real Lena had hated that diner. She used to joke about its burnt coffee every time they passed it. The woman standing before him wasn't her. Thor began to growl again, deep in his chest. Lena, or whatever she was, stared at the dog, then at Ryan. Her expression shifted, subtle but sharp, like something mechanical flickering behind her eyes. Ryan, she said softly, stepping closer, you don't understand. They made me better. He stepped back, the world tilting. What are you? Her smile was small, sad. The version you could never let go of. Then she lunged. Thor leapt, intercepting her midair. The struggle was violent, chaotic, metal scraping, flesh tearing, an inhuman shriek. Ryan fired once, the sound deafening in the narrow chamber. Silence. When the smoke cleared, she lay still, eyes open, glassy. Beneath the torn skin of her arm, something shimmered metallic. Not a cyborg, not exactly, but something worse. Synthetic muscle, laced with wire. Flesh that wasn't flesh. Ryan sank to his knees, shaking. Thor whimpered beside him. He stared at her face, Lena's face, one last time. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "What did they do to you?" He didn't remember driving back. Didn't remember the headlights or the sirens, or Reyes's voice shouting when he stumbled into the station covered in mud and blood. All he remembered was the weight of it, that realization that love could be manufactured. Reyes sat across from him in the interrogation room later that morning, rubbing her temples. "So, let me get this straight. You're telling me your wife was some kind of clone?" Ryan didn't look up. "I'm telling you she wasn't human." She sighed. "And Bennett? He's dead." Ryan nodded. Reyes leaned back. Forensics found surgical tools in that basement. Blood samples. Records of procedures dating back 10 years. Some of the DNA samples match unidentified remains from neighboring towns. You want to know the kicker? He looked up. "One of them matches your wife." Ryan's stomach turned. "Which one?" Reyes gave a weary, hollow smile. "That's the thing, hell. We don't know which version." That night, Ryan sat in his car again, parked outside the morgue. The world felt smaller now. Like every truth he'd ever believed had cracks beneath it. Thor lay quietly on the back seat, tail thumping weakly when Ryan reached to pet him. The phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. The voice was faint, familiar, soft. "Ryan, it's me." His breath caught. "Lena, I'm cold," she whispered. "Please, come get me." The line went dead, and from the darkness beyond the windshield, the lights of the morgue flickered twice, as if something inside had just woken up. The morgue was almost silent at that hour, just a low hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional metallic click of cooling units settling. The storm had passed, leaving the world washed and raw. Officer Ryan Hale stood in the corridor, his reflection fractured across the glass doors. He hadn't slept in 30 hours. His hands shook, not from exhaustion, but from a memory of that voice on the phone. "Ryan, it's me. I'm cold." It wasn't possible. And yet every part of him wanted to believe it. He swiped his key card and stepped inside. The air smelled of antiseptic and cold metal. Rows of drawers lined the walls like filing cabinets for the dead. A nurse looked up from her clipboard. "Officer Hale," she said softly, "you're not supposed to be here right now." He flashed his badge half-heartedly. "Captain Reyes cleared me." She hesitated. "You mean officially?" Ryan said nothing. The nurse sighed, sliding the clipboard aside. "You're looking for the woman from Ridge Lane?" He nodded. "Drawer 6, she said quietly. "But I'd be careful. She's not like the others." Ryan frowned. "What do you mean?" The nurse's gaze flickered, uneasy. "Sometimes we hear the freezer compressor kick on by itself, even when the power's cut." He didn't answer. He just walked. The stainless steel drawer hissed as it opened. Inside lay the woman, Lena's face perfectly still. The bullet wound had been cleaned. Her eyes were closed, lashes wet with condensation. For a long moment Ryan couldn't breathe. He reached out and touched her hand. "Cold. Too cold. I don't know what you are," he whispered, "but you look like the only person who ever made me feel alive." The fluorescent lights above flickered. Then a sound, faint, mechanical, a hum deep within her chest cavity, like something restarting. Ryan stumbled back, eyes wide. "No." Her fingers twitched. He drew his weapon, though he wasn't sure why. How do you threaten something that shouldn't exist? Then her eyes opened. Same soft brown irises, but behind them, something different. Empty, ancient, aware. "Ryan," she whispered, voice trembling. "You came." He lowered the gun, torn between terror and relief. "What the hell are you?" She blinked slowly. "I don't know anymore." He swallowed hard. "They said you were made. Cloned. Programmed." Her eyes glistened. "Maybe once. But I remember everything now. The real me, the one they copied, she's gone. I'm what's left. The air in the room felt heavier, like time itself was slowing down. Ryan stepped closer. Who made you? She looked at the ceiling, as if searching for something she couldn't quite reach. Elias wasn't lying. There was a project, years ago, biogenetics firm in the city. They were building replacements. People who could live out others' lives when they died suddenly. Government contracts. High clearance. Quiet experiments. They called us continuities. Ryan felt his stomach drop. Continuities? Replicas, she said softly. Copies that remember enough to keep the story going. So no one asks too many questions. He backed away, shaking his head. No, Lena died in that crash. I saw her body. She smiled faintly. You saw what they wanted you to see. He pressed his palms to his eyes, trying to make sense of the impossible. Why me? Why us? Because you were easy to love, she said. You believed in what you saw, even when it hurt. For a moment, silence. The hum of refrigeration filled the space between them like static. Then she added quietly, I think they replaced her because she found out. Ryan looked up sharply. Found out what? That she wasn't the first either. The words hit him like a physical blow. He staggered back, gripping the metal table. How many? Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know. 10? 20? Maybe more. Every time one of us fails, they start over. He whispered, and the bodies? In the freezer, she said. The air felt suffocating. His hands shook uncontrollably now. He wanted to scream, to smash the sterile world around him. But all he could do was stare at her and think of the night she'd fallen asleep in his arms, whispering dreams that might never have been hers. I killed you, he said finally. She reached up, touching his hand. You ended one version. Maybe that's mercy. He didn't pull away. The warmth returning to her skin made something in him ache. You should have stayed dead, he said, voice breaking. Maybe, she whispered. But I couldn't stand leaving you believing I was real. Tears blurred his vision. You were real to me. Her lips trembled. That's all I ever wanted. Then the lights flickered again. From the hallway, a heavy thud. Ryan turned sharply. Stay here. He stepped into the corridor, gun raised. The moored door at the far end swung slowly shut, as if someone had just entered. Reyes, he called out. No response. He advanced cautiously. The hum of the light seemed louder now, pressing against his skull. His breath fogged in the chilled air. At the end of the corridor, the office door stood ajar. He pushed it open and froze. Captain Reyes sat behind the desk, motionless. Her skin was pale, waxy. Her left temple bore a thin incision line. Ryan's heart stopped. No. Her eyes opened. Mechanical were beneath her irises. She smiled faintly. I told you not to let it drag you under, Hale. He staggered back. Not you too. They replaced everyone who knew, she said softly. Containment protocol. You saw too much. He raised his gun. Stay where you are. Reyes tilted her head, calm. You can't stop it, Ryan. They'll make another you soon enough. A version that forgets this night ever happened. He fired. The bullet shattered glass behind her. She didn't flinch. Instead, she looked almost pitying. You don't even know if you're the first one. The words tore through him. Ryan felt his knees weaken. What? Rhea stood, her movements too smooth, too deliberate. You think you remember her death, the grief, the pain, but memories can be written, officer. Maybe you've been through this 100 times. He shook his head, gripping the wall for balance. No, I'd know. Would you? She asked gently. Or would you only remember what we programmed you to? For a long moment, the world seemed to tilt. His breathing slowed. His heartbeat thundered. He dropped the gun. Behind him, the moored door creaked open again. Lena stood there, pale and trembling, eyes full of sorrow. Ryan, she said softly, come with me. We can leave. Start over. Be free. He looked at her, at the only face he'd ever loved, no matter how many versions there were. And for a moment, he wanted to believe her. Then he looked back at Reyes. "Tell me the truth." Reyes's voice was almost kind. "You were created the same year she was. Partner units. One designed to protect, the other to love. You were never meant to find each other again." Something inside him broke. He sank against the wall, the sound of his own heartbeat fading beneath the hum of the lights. Lena stepped closer, tears streaming down her cheeks. "It doesn't matter what we are," she whispered. "You still feel this, don't you?" He nodded weakly. "Every time." She knelt beside him, pressing her forehead against his. "Then let's end it together." Reyes moved, quick and sharp. "Don't." But it was too late. Lena reached for the power switch on the wall, the one controlling the morgue's cryogenic grid. A flash of light. The hum died. Cold rushed through the room like a living thing, swallowing everything, breath, sound, warmth, and then silence. Hours later, dawn broke over Cedar Hollow. Rescue units found the morgue without power. Inside, 3 bodies lay side by side on the floor, 2 hand in hand, one standing nearby with his eyes still open, watching nothing. Captain Reyes was gone. No trace. The reports called it equipment failure. The files were sealed within a week. But sometimes, in the quiet hours of night, the new officers swear they hear voices from the basement level. Soft, familiar, whispering names they shouldn't know. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear a dog's low growl echoing through the hall. Epilogue. Months later, a moving truck passed through Cedar Hollow. The driver stopped for gas at a roadside diner on 5th Street. A couple sat by the window, quiet, smiling, ordinary. The woman stirred her coffee. The man reached to pet the GermanShepherd at their feet. They looked like anyone else, except when the light hit their faces just right. There was a faint shimmer beneath the skin. If stories like this haunt you long after they end, stay close. The next case from Cedar Hollow is already waiting.